Opening ceremony of the session tomorrow evening. With me I have, as you see, the IOC President Thomas Bach, and also Kit McConnell again, the IOC Sports Director, and Kirsty Burrows, Head of the Safe Sports Unit of the IOC. The President's going to brief you on the discussions and results of the IOC EB meeting today. Together with Kit and Kirsty, we'll take your questions afterwards, and as with yesterday, we'll take questions here on the floor and online. So, without further ado, President, over to you for your summary.
Thank you very much, and welcome to all of you, and thank you for your interest in the work of the IOC Executive Board. The board members are very happy to be here in India, and I think also you are enjoying the same warm hospitality by our Indian hosts, and there I would like in particular to thank the IOC member in India, Mrs. Nita Ambani, and her team for doing a fantastic job preparing this session and offering such a great hospitality. We are already looking forward to the opening ceremony tomorrow night, which will give evidence once more that the Olympic spirit in India is growing. We saw the great performance of the team India at the Asian Games with a record number of medals. We can see it on our Olympic social media handles, where the India is the number 2 when it comes to followers. And this shows the great interest in particular of the young generations of India in the Olympic movement, in the Olympic athletes, and in the Olympic Games. This growing spirit I could also experience when I visited with Nita Ambani the Academy of the Reliance Foundation, which she chairs, where you could see what is being done for millions of kids here in India, and in particular kids from underprivileged families, to give them access to sport, to give them also access with the new programs we have been starting here in India with Nita Ambani and her foundation, and with Abhinav Bindra, our Athletes Commission member, and his foundation, to access to the Olympic Values Education program. There we have a potential to reach here in Maharashtra alone 27 million children, and in Odisha, where the Abhinav Bindra Foundation is already active, the potential is 7 million children. And this is, I think, quite an achievement, and I must say I'm really deeply impressed by these efforts. With regard to the decisions and works of the IOC Executive Board, allow me just to give some examples, because we had so many really far-reaching and important topics. The first one is about safeguarding, which is one of our most important challenges, because safeguarding is about the future of sport. If we cannot offer the children a safe environment to play sports, the parents will not send them anymore to sports. It is so easy, and therefore the IOC has taken safeguarding as a special focus on their work in the follow-up of Olympic Agenda 2020+5. We have allocated their special fund of $10 million per Olympiad, means every 4 years. And we have taken up the request of the international federations to take the lead on addressing this critical challenge. This has been in the hand of a safeguarding working group chaired by the IOC Executive Board member Prince Faisal, and supported by our administration, by Mrs. Kirsty Burrows and her team, who is with us here on this podium. Recognizing the fact that with these safeguarding efforts, we have to get as close as possible to the affected people. The working group chose a bottom-up approach and recommended the establishment of regional safeguarding hubs. There the IOC Executive Board approved as a kind of pilot projects 2 regional safeguarding hubs in Southern Africa and the Pacific Islands, and to support the initial work for a European safeguarding hub. These hubs will provide the athletes with independent guidance, psychosocial support, legal aid, and any other help that they may need, and they will do so through existing services available locally in the athlete's own language, within an understanding of their culture and the local context. The establishment of these pilot hubs will be overseen by an international safe sport task force that will include representatives from sport, intergovernmental organizations, non-governmental organizations, civil society, and of course athletes. We got an update from the future host commission for the Olympic Games because we asked the future host commission for the Winter Games to evaluate the future allocation of Winter Games following 2 main criteria. The one that for sustainability reasons, a future Olympic Winter Games host should have a target of using only existing or temporary venues. Second, proposed snow competition venues should be climate reliable until at least mid of this century. Following these 2 criteria, there were 2 studies commissioned by the Commission. One, to identify the national Olympic committees with the most existing IF homologated venues, and another study to check if these existing IF homologated venues would be climate reliable until at least the middle of this century. Today, the Future Host Commission for the Olympic Winter Games presented the first results of these studies. There are 15 national Olympic committees on 3 continents that have at least 80% of existing venues, which means that they have at least 9 out of the 11 required venues for snow sports. 10 out of these 15 have either recently hosted the Games or are interested to host the Games in the future. By 2040, so for Olympic, in Olympic terms tomorrow, 2 of these 15 NOCs will no longer have the necessary reliability for the Olympic Winter Games held in February, and 5 even for the Paralympic Games held in March. That means that by 2040 there remain practically just 10 national Olympic committees who could host these snow events of Olympic Winter Games. And from these numbers it becomes even clearer that we need to address very quickly this dramatic impact of climate change on winter sport and the Winter Games. The future host Commission has already started to address this very concerning situation. This implies deliberations on a rotation system, the composition of the program, the different needs for sports on ice and snow, and many others. And from all of this, you can already see that this is a very complex issue. And we need some more time to address this properly. This cannot be done in the next 6 months or even in the next 12 months. And this is one of the reasons, if not the main reason, why the Future Host Commission is proposing to get the opportunity to propose a double allocation of 2 successive Olympic Winter Games for 2030 and 2034, if all conditions are met, in order to gain this more time to address the dramatic impact of climate change. The IOC-EB gave, following this request, a green light to the Future Host Commission to pursue such a double allocation, and will put this question for further discussion to the IOC session here in Mumbai. The timeline for the further process is that the Future Host Commission to propose to the Executive Board by end of October, November this year to open a targeted dialogue. The IOC-EB then to decide in November about this targeted dialogue with a view to have the election of the host or the hosts at the IOC session in 2024. With regard to the sports program of Los Angeles 28, the IOC had to take 3 different decisions. First, it was about the proposal of the Los Angeles Organizing Committee to introduce 5 new sports, and these 5 sports are baseball, softball, flag football, lacrosse sixes, squash, and cricket. These proposals have been accepted as a package by the IOC Executive Board, taking into consideration that these proposals and these sports are fully in line with the sports culture of our host in 28, with the American sports culture. They will showcase iconic American sports to the world, while bringing at the same time international sports to the United States. The inclusion will, on the other hand, allow the Olympic movement to engage with new athletes and fan communities in the US and globally. The IOC-EB also reviewed the status of the 3 sports that were not part of the initial sports program for LA 2028. With regard to boxing, we are in a situation that after the withdrawal of the recognition of the International Boxing Association, the IOC has no international federation to partner up with regard to the organization of an Olympic tournament, because, at least at this stage, the IOC has not recognized any other governing body for Olympic boxing. Therefore, any decision of the inclusion of boxing in the sports program is put on hold. But I do not get tired to repeat that we want a boxing on the program. We have no problem with boxing. We have no problem with the boxers. We have just a huge problem with regard to the governing body. With regard to modern pentathlon, the IOC recommended to the session to include modern pentathlon, acknowledging the replacement of equestrian with obstacle racing and the optimization work conducted by the International Modern Pentathlon Union to reduce costs and complexity and to facilitate access to the sport. There is also worth noting, and to make this clear for all concerned and all interested, without the exchange of riding against obstacle racing, the sport would not have been included in the program. With regard to weightlifting, the Executive Board recommends to the session the inclusion, following the decision of the International Weightlifting Federation to delegate its anti-doping management to the International Testing Agency and its sanctioning to the Court of Arbitration for Sport at least until the end of year 2028, and we could see their really robust anti-doping program in place addressing our concerns. All these proposals will now go to the IOC session here in Mumbai for a vote. Finally, we looked at the discipline program. There are various opportunities to reduce the cost and complexity